Blog Talk Radio.
You are listening to Shriekfest Radio.
Hello, this is Denise Gossett, the festival founder and director, and welcome to Shriekfest Radio. We have been doing Shriekfest Radio almost 8 years. In January, it will be 8 years. Kind of crazy. This is show 198. Super excited. We had amazing 2019 Shriekfest, both in LA and Orlando. Our 2020 dates for LA are October 1st through the 4th and Orlando November 7th. Shriekfest.com is our website. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Come give us a like and a follow. We love to help support indie horror and sci-fi, so feel free to tweet things to us and we'll help spread the word. Our next Shriekfest Presents, super excited about this. It's this Friday the 13th. Shriekfest Presents is us teaming up with Landmark's New Art Theater, and we bring you classic horror. So this Friday the 13th, we are showing Friday the 13th, and we have special guest actor Robbie Morgan, who played Annie, coming to do the Q&A. So that will be pretty exciting. Make sure you get your tickets. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website. The call-in number for today, if you have a question for myself or my guest, is 516-531-9858, 516-531-9858. And if you're shy and you'd rather not be on the air, but you have a burning question, feel free to tweet me at Shriekfest or email at shriekfest.com, and I'll periodically glance at those and get your questions answered. Our call for entries has opened. I cannot believe it. I feel like we just ended this, but it's all good. And our first cutoff date is January 1st. So the new year, for the new year, you can get them in, and then the one after that will be February 1st. So you still have some time. Of course, the final cutoff isn't until July 1st, so you're good. But the earlier you get them in, the cheaper the entry fee is. Super excited about my guest today. I've known him for quite some time. He had Latchkey, a short film Latchkey in Shriekfest in 2004. And then in 2019, he had Max Winslow in The House of Secrets. And I am very excited to welcome Sean Olson to Shriekfest Radio. Hi, Sean. How are you?
Hi, Denise. I'm doing really, really good.
Yeah? It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah. Nice to hear you, too.
Thanks. So I know we're like getting in the thick of the holidays and everything, and so you're probably running around like crazy, but I want to chat about how you got into making films and movies. Like how old were you when you first said, you know what, this is what I want to do?
It kind of started, I started really young. I kept, every movie I saw, I kind of wanted that job. So when I saw Airplane movie, I wanted to be a pilot. I remember seeing Legal Eagles with Robert Redford and Daryl Hannah, and I was like, hey, I could be a lawyer. And then as I started to see a pattern, and as I started seeing the pattern, I was like, you know what? No, I really want to do films. And then in high school, I started working for we had like a television production group, and we started doing like little newscasts on Fridays. And the more and more I got into it, the more and more I fell in love with it. And then I went to the University of Arizona and immersed myself in film there. So yeah.
Cool. Now,
so yeah, and I've always liked horror movies. I've always liked sci-fi, all sorts of genres. Yeah.
Well, right now, for anyone listening who does not know, Sean is a 4-time Emmy winner, and he's a member of the PGA, and he's directed, he's produced, he's edited, he's even acted, which I want to ask you about. Do you still have a desire to act?
Gosh, no. I'll leave that to the professionals. There's no way. I think I'm credited as Man with Pig in one of the films that I did. Yeah.
I love it.
I have the ultimate respect for acting and actors, and it's not something that's in my wheelhouse.
I bet you're wrong. I bet you're just being hard on yourself.
No. So, but yeah, no, not for me.
That's so funny. Okay, so you kind of always knew you wanted to get into film, and you have done so many projects in editing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
At what point did you say, you know what, I think I could direct one of these?
When I went to film school, I think I went to film school with kind of the same thought that everybody in film school when they go. You go there and you want to direct a film. And so I went with that intention. And then as we were, going through the classes and everything, I started to edit more and more. And I had edited in high school, but then I started editing, some of my classmates' films and just a bunch of projects. And it was something that I really fell in love with. But my ultimate goal was always to direct. And part of our curriculum at the University of Arizona was to write, produce, direct, and edit your own film. Now, we didn't really do all those jobs on our own. We had a team of people, and there's people that I went to the university with that I still am either friends with or I work with today.
Wow.
And, like, for instance, Jason Brandt, the composer of Max Winslow, we went to college together and always talked about doing movies. And so once I had started editing, that part of my career, that kind of opened a gateway to what would become my professional career. And then as my student film in college was one of those like failed projects that never finished. We had a lot of technical issues. There were, script issues that I, now if I look back, I would totally do a different type of movie, but, I learned from that. And so then eventually once I got out to California, I said, hey, I have to do this. I have to try this again, the directing thing again. And that's where I financed a short for me to do, which was, lucky to appear in Shriekfest that year, Latchkey. And it was something where I felt like when we were done with it, it looks like a film. It has a style, it has a feel. And then after that, I just started directing more and more. And this company Hybrid gave me an opportunity. Jeff Shank, Barry Barnholtz, and Peter Sullivan, they gave me an opportunity to start directing features.
Wow.
And
that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really big. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, it was a really big vote of confidence on their part. Like, I had been editing their films for a number of years, but then they were gracious enough to give me that opportunity.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so when you are on set directing, are you shooting to cut?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the thing about, like, when I shot Latchkey, we shot film. And so, as you know, when you shoot film, you're very, very cautious about how you're going to shoot it. You want to have it really laid out, because each time you roll the camera, there's money involved. And so, one of the things about digital is, you can shoot two cameras all the time if you have two cameras. And a lot of the times, the second camera doesn't really, sometimes it just gets like a little piece of something. But I generally, when I construct a scene, I generally think about the edit and, challenge myself with, how few of shots do I need to cover this scene? But I also want to make sure that, the producers and everybody else are happy that I got enough coverage, because that's always the worst, is when you get into the edit bay and you're like, I can't really cut around this. And sometimes you have to cut things down for running time, so you need options in the edit bay.
Sure. Well, it's extremely obvious when you watch your films that you are an exceptional editor. I mean, really, it comes across. And I heard a quote, not sure who said it, but somebody once said that the editor's job, if you don't notice it, they did a fantastic job. Would you agree?
I agree. I think so. I was actually thinking about this with there's that movie 1917, which is supposed to show that it has no editing, and but there's a lot of editing in it, and that's like the epitome of like that comment is, you don't notice the editing, and really, yeah, if you notice the editing, a lot of the times it's either meant to be jarring or it's bad editing.
Right. Right.
So I always try to put myself in one of the things that I had an opportunity to do with Latchkey was we went to the Sedona Film Festival a number of years ago, and they had this really, really fascinating workshop, and Walter Murch was there, and I was in the process of cutting my first feature, How the Garcia Girls Spent Their Summer, with one of my classmates, Georgina Garcia Rydell, and we were lucky that movie made it into the Sundance Film Festival that year.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was like mind blowing. But I remember asking Walter, I was like, and it was so great because we had like a lunch and we were able to like talk to, usually don't get an opportunity like that. And I asked him, I said, how do you know if you made the right edit? And he said, when I play a scene and I hit an endpoint at where I think it should end. And then if I play the scene again and I hit the same endpoint, then I know that's the right edit. And
wow.
So that was an interesting thing. But then I always also look at editing as, who do you want to watch when you're in a conversation? Because sometimes you want to watch somebody's reaction to what somebody said. And so that's generally how I go about editing the scene is whose reaction do I want to see in that regard. And in Max, we have like that, there's a really emotional scene, and later in the movie. And one of the things that I kind of set in my mind is I don't want to cut away from this actor during this scene because it's such a powerful scene and the acting was so good that, I felt like the audience needs to kind of soak that up.
Yes, that scene was so powerful and so gut-wrenching. So I completely understand what you're saying because if you had cut away, we would have missed all of that. It still would have been, sad.
You have two actors doing great things, but it was just so powerful, And it's a scene with Sidney McKell. It's one of her really big scenes in the movie, in Max Winslow. So, yeah. And
let's talk about. You've done some writing as well, and you co-wrote Latchkey.
Yes.
How did you team up with Jeff Wild, who wrote Max Winslow in The House of Secrets?
Well, I don't consider myself like the greatest writer. I'm pretty good at, and my wife will attest to this because we worked on F.R.E.D.I together, and my wife is really good at dialogue, and I'm really good at action and writing like action and visualizing. And I think part of that comes from my editing background. And so,
probably.
Yeah, and so my kids are in elementary school, and my wife, Kat, she had, she always meets all the different parents at drop-off, and one of the people that she met was Jeff Wild, and, they got to talking, and, it's a school in Burbank, and so there's a lot of people in the industry kind of, trading stories, and he had started talking to her about some of the scripts and the ideas that he had been working on, and she came home. She's like, you should really talk to Jeff because he has so many really good ideas, and so he sent me a script which we're developing right now that has artificial intelligence, and the script was like one of those. And you've probably read these types of scripts where you start reading, and you read it so fast because it's like you just want to get to the end because it's so good.
Right.
I read that. Yeah, and I read that script, and I told Johnny Rima, the producer of Max Winslow, and I were talking about doing a follow-up to F.R.E.D.I, which is a sci-fi family film, kind of like it's kind of an E.T., Spielberg, Amblin kind of homage. And we had talked about a follow-up, and I introduced them, and Jeff had an idea. It was mainly geared. It was a more adult-oriented idea, but he's like, I think I can change this to make it fit the type of movies that Johnny and I were making at the time. And so it became a youth-driven film. And originally our lead was supposed to be a male character. And as the writing was going, Johnny is like, hey, what if we switch this to a female character? And I was like, wow, that's probably going to be a lot of writing, and, let me talk to Jeff about it. And I talked to Jeff about it, and he was like, that's a great idea. I can totally fix that and change that. And I think it kind of helps keep away from a lot of the, normal cliched kind of characters. That,
I love that because I was not expecting Max to be a female.
Yeah. So, and I guess for those who don't know what Max is, there's a guy named Atticus Virtue, played by Chad Michael Murray, who invites 5 kids, kind of like a Willy Wonka style like selection. But he invites 5 kids to stay overnight at his mansion, and then the mansion's run by artificial intelligence, and the teens are forced to confront with themselves, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah. No, it's great. It has heart. It has a message. It's what so many people go through nowadays. It kind of touches base on lots of little things. I think it's a great intro for kids wanting to see, some of these genres that they're not quite ready for, the super bloody slasher films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this one's so fun.
I felt like there was a void for that type of movie for kids. There's either the really, really kind of, super, super cheesy kind of, type of thing, and then there's, then you kind of like, it's like a big jump, and, you're in the more R-rated kind of realm, and I think this was just something that, I know my kids like scary things, and not all kids like scary things.
Right.
But, and, every kid is different, but I thought, this is probably something that it's not, like you said, it's an intro to, it's not a scary movie per se. There are a couple, thrilling moments and creepy moments, but it's not, there's no violence, there's no cussing, there's no smoking, there, a lot of those things we made sure to kind of keep it a pure, clean family film where, that's the worst, is when you watch a family film and you don't realize, oh wow, this is in there.
Right, exactly.
Like we were watching Christmas. Speaking of Christmas movies, we were watching Christmas movies, and I saw 2 Christmas movies with my kids. And in the first 15 minutes of each of these Christmas movies, they're like, "There's no Santa Claus," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
I know, Sean. It's terrible.
It's so horrible.
It is so terrible. I don't know why they do that. Of course, then they try to cover it up, and they have a reason for why that belief, but still, I know that exact feeling because we went through it too.
Yeah, and you just sit there and you're like, oh man. I'm like, maybe I can talk over this now that I'm seeing what type of scene it is. I'm going to distract my kid, or But
and what? And did
I remember I was talking.
What'd they do?
I was talking to my wife while we were watching it, and I was like, Kat, how did you feel about that? And she's like, oh my gosh, I don't. And I mean, it's.
I know.
I
know. I know exactly which movies you're talking about too. I bet I could completely guess because we went through the same thing where you kind of do that cringe and look at each other like, I thought this was supposed to be family.
Well, did you see? Well, one of them was. Can I name a movie? Does it matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of them was The Santa Claus. And
yes, and then Elf does it too.
Yeah, Elf. You know what's funny though? Elf does do it, and I actually mentioned that to my wife, and my kids have seen that so early on. But I think the reason why Elf might work okay is because we see Santa Claus at the beginning. Yeah,
right.
We really see him, and we see, he's an elf and all that. So I feel like at least they established that there's a Santa, whereas like the beginning of the Santa Claus, it's like they're, yeah.
I know. It's terrible. I don't know why they do that. You know what? You need to make one that doesn't do that.
Yeah. Well, I've made a couple Christmas movies, but not a kid-geared Christmas movie. I've done like Hallmark.
make your kids one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the films you have, like you've done. Gosh, would you say you've done every genre, especially with the editing?
With the editing, pretty close. Yeah. I mean, I've done a Western. I've done a horror film.
You've done drama. You've done romance.
I've done drama. I've done some comedy. Yeah. And I've done.
That's pretty cool.
I've done some action. Yeah. I've done some shorts that are action too. Yeah.
I love it. Now, what are you working on now?
So, my buddy and I, Christian Beckman, he owns a company called Quantum Creation Effects, and they're a specialty costume and prop house for a lot of the big studios. So, his company's works on, everything from the original Watchmen movie, to Tron, to a little bit of Captain Marvel. There's a little piece in The Mandalorian that they worked on.
Wow.
And so we worked together on F.R.E.D.I, and he designed the F.R.E.D.I robot. And if anybody wants to see F.R.E.D.I, it's on Netflix now, so you can see it, F.R.E.D.I. But
cool.
we talked about it afterwards, and we're like, hey, wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be great to like we both like the same movies, and we don't live that far from each other, and so we just kind of got to talking about it, and then we formed a company, Trash Panda Entertainment, and my wife and his girlfriend are all involved in it, and they're also the co-founders, and so our goal is to do, genre-based films, but we also if it's a good film that doesn't fit into like a sci-fi or horror, we're also interested in that because we really just want to make good films. But I think part of it is we're leaning into what Quantum specialty is. So we've been looking at like I mentioned, we have a script called Integrating Anna, which Jeff wrote, that we're looking to put together. My wife is working on a horror film right now. And that's one thing that I kind of really want to do is I've never done like that full bloody, like super scary horror film. I've done like elements of that type of movie, but I've never done like, hey, let's talk about gallons of blood and that type of thing. So, but those are the types of movies that I love. So we, we're looking at a couple of different scripts to produce, and that's where we are right now, and we're hoping, next year we can get our first film as a company. I mean, technically, F.R.E.D.I was the first film the company did, but so it would be our second film off the ground. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool, and I love that you have your wife and his girlfriend involved too.
Yeah, I mean, it was just something that made sense, and I mean, it was one of those things where it was really originally going to be three of us, and then the fourth person, my wife's like, well, I'm going to be a part of this because I'm going to do a lot of the work too, and I was like, you're right, you are going to do a lot of the work, and she's so good at. My wife is so smart, like she is, she's really smart, she's really passionate, and she has great ideas, and she's super supportive. You know, as you know, how hard the industry can be, where, you know, you're out of town for a month at a time or something.
Right.
She's always been very supportive, and so I'm glad that she's a part of it and doing it. And I think with the four of us, like, I don't know, I just think it's going to be a really good match.
I agree. You know, people say don't ever work with your spouse, but sometimes it's magical. So I'm glad it's really working out.
Yeah, no, and we've worked together on a bunch of things for a number of years, so this wouldn't be the first time working together.
Yeah. That is awesome. Okay, so we have about 4 minutes left. Where can people find you? Where can they see Max? Where can they see Latchkey? What's going on?
So Latchkey, I have it up on Vimeo. It's an old copy, but I can put it. I think it's just going to be on Vimeo for right now. But if you go to my website, I have two websites. I have one for the company, which you can check out. It's called trashpandaentertainment.com.
Okay.
And then I have a personal website. It's just seanolson.com. And that has like some of the stuff, you know, some trailers and things of projects that I've directed. It has my reel as a director, my editor reel. And then I think on both of those, there's a Vimeo link on the top, and that'll take you to all the different works that I've done. So for instance, like a lot of the movies I've done are on like iTunes. Like I know my first movie that I directed, The Contractor, that's up on iTunes. And I did some family movies. I did a movie called The Dog Who Saved Summer and The Dog Who Saved Easter. Those are both up there. And then
I know,
F.R.E.D.I,
I love it.
obviously on Netflix. Yeah. So, and then I think the Christmas movie I did for Hallmark, I think they're airing that in rotation right now. So it's called Christmas Wonderland.
I haven't seen that one yet, and I'm going to search it out.
Yeah. So that one was
my
really
family.
good.
We love to watch those movies. What was that?
Yeah. It was a good one. We went up to Utah and shot it, and
Ooh.
I mean, I think the thing for me is I've been really blessed to have such great collaborators on all the films that I've done, and you know, I mean, I think that's the big key for any filmmaker is like you have a group of people that are, you know, passionate, and you know, and it's no one person really makes these movies. It's a bunch of us, you know, working together, and everybody bringing their specialty, you know, to the project. So.
Yep, and it creates magic. Well,
it does.
Keep me posted on all of this cool stuff, because I will be more than happy to help promote and get the message out there. And Sean, when you go to the movies, what do you like to eat?
Yes. What do I like to eat?
Yeah.
Milk duds.
You do
and
popcorn?
red vines.
Me too.
Sometimes.
I love red vines.
Yeah.
Okay, so milk duds, red vines, and do you do popcorn, or you skip the popcorn?
It depends. Like sometimes I don't eat anything at the theater, but yeah, I mean I do popcorn with butter, for sure.
Oh my goodness, you're one of the butter people.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Not like a lot of butter though. I know people will get to those machines and like douse it.
I know.
I don't like it all over the place.
Just a little
bit. Too greasy.
Yeah. Well, tell the family I said Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys have an amazing holiday season, and I hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much
Merry
for
Christmas
coming on the
too.
show. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, Sean. All right,
okay.
Bye-bye.
You are listening to Shriekfest Radio.
Well, that was wonderful having him on. Definitely check out his stuff. Very, very talented guy. Like I said, I've known him for a long time because he was in Shriekfest in 2004. Get your submissions in. Keep pursuing those goals. Write down your goals. If they're not written down, it's not a true goal. Good night, guys.